like Fred always says, let's split up and look for food. Okay. Sorry. Raggy, what happened? Oh no. Raggy.
Raggy. Am I wrong in thinking that in the original Scooby-Doo, he began basically every word with R except maybe Scooby-Doo? Or did he sometimes just... Because sometimes in this game, Scooby just says, like... I mean, he says it in a weird voice. He's like, "Brr," but he doesn't sound like a dog. He just sounds like a person speaking regular human English. In this game and other... that was sick. I liked that. Other iterations of Scooby-Doo that I've seen. So I'm just wondering what's... Well, not what's canon, but what is considered the normal Scooby voice. And which ones are aberrations of it. Anyway, this, I like this level, actually, for the most part, unless I am forgetting some part of it that was super annoying. The only thing, and I think I mentioned this in the last one, is that while I was playing these, I was getting very paranoid about, like, missing shit, and because, I don't know why, I just, like, you know, I want to get all the clues just so I can show off the levels and everything, but, like, at the end of this one, everything was fine. I got all of them. And yeah, fighting things with this is incredibly difficult. That is something that you will notice in this in the rest of this world. But yeah, so I don't know why I was paranoid about any of that stuff while I was playing this, but it resulted in me doing a lot of backtracking and kind of sucking, and as you can guess, I'm gonna die soon in this level here. But yeah, this is the one use of the Robin Hood costume, is hitting targets. And that's about it. It's pretty useless against enemies. As you could see, most of the enemies have ways of shielding themselves, so you have to hit them at a weird angle if you do want to do it, and it's equivalent to, like, I don't even, like, maybe half an actual hit. I can't tell, because there have been times where I've hit, like, those dinosaur enemies with the arrows, like, 9 times with the arrows, and they are not even close to done. I still have to hit them with regular moves afterward for them to die. But whatever. I figured it out either way. Excuse me for being very distracted. I have a very busy day going on. I had the maintenance guy for the place I live in, the people we rent from, he had to come to fix our washer-dryer. We have a dual, like, washer-dryer machine. I kind of wish that there was a dishwasher there, and based on the labeling of everything on the circuit breaker, there was originally a dishwasher there, or at least that outlet was meant to be for a dishwasher. That would be much more useful, because hand washing dishes all the time sucks, and you don't have room for everything, especially if you ever have a meal that requires many dishes to prepare, which, you know, there are a lot of those. But yeah, so we have a washer dryer, and it is easily the worst thing in the house. The rest of this apartment is fine, but then first of all, the machine makes an incredibly loud noise when it's running, and everyone else in all of the other units, oh yeah, hello fishy fish, all the other units in the apartment have the same ones, and they literally will rattle the entire building when they really get going, when they're in the dryer. I don't know how to describe the setup of it. All of the buttons, nothing is intuitive about what you would expect to be on a washer or dryer. There are 2 settings for drying, which are cotton dry and / normal, and then refresh, which are an hour and 4 hours, not respectively, in reverse. 4 hours is the cotton dry normal. And then there's like 10 options for washing, and the door auto locks, and so the problem we ended up having, which we didn't know at the time, but we couldn't get some clothes that we were washing out of there. We couldn't open the door so that we could dry them. And the reason was that apparently a bunch of lint and shit got stuck in the valve that drains the water out of the, like, into the pump, and basically wasn't draining the water, and so there was water trapped inside, and so the thing that detects that locks the door wasn't letting us unlock the door. And so dude had to come, took him like an hour and a half to figure that out, and then had to go buy a new part, which apparently was a thing in and of itself, because apparently there's a lot of problems with this brand of washer dryer, and to the point that like the people that are regularly working for the maintenance like don't know what to do, and they always have to like ask someone else, or like their normal people can't provide the parts normally, so they have to go to someone else, something like that. It was explained to me. So yeah, I was dealing with that for a couple hours today, with just him being there, and I mean, now it works, so I guess that's good, but this thing doesn't have like a lint trap, so now I'm just wondering, like, is this just a thing we're gonna do every couple months, where this thing breaks because it's really shitty and sucks, and we have to call someone to come fix it so that we can, you know, do laundry? Luckily, not at all an essential aspect of living in a home. But whatever. And oh my god, the thought of sitting in a laundromat for hours just washing and drying my clothes every week, I don't know how much more working class mundanity I can take in my day-to-day life and my week-to-week routine, because going to our incredibly crowded grocery store is also a bit of an ordeal. Just the limitations of the living situation. This is the thing about this level that I don't really like, is all of these different paths you can take, and many of them lead to nothing, but some of them lead to things. And also that you have to wait for these very loud, at least when I'm playing them, they're quite loud, little elevator things. But overall, I like the medieval aesthetic. I like the music. And I don't really understand how this is much of an exhibit, necessarily. It's just kind of like... Because the other one was like... The dinosaur one was like an immersive dinosaur experience, and all of the structures were of like old-timey dinosaur-y features, and there were dinosaurs around. But this is just kind of like big medieval building with like... with knights, and they are just there. And I don't know, I feel like there's more to the medieval thing than that, or they're like, you know, peasants or serfs or something, or not even that, just like, I don't know, there's other medieval stuff, horses, and like, maybe if you want to go like fake medieval, like fantasy medieval, you could do like dragons or some shit. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here on how to improve this game from like 15 years ago. You should totally be able to jump around that. I hate when platformers do it. That's one thing I really love about Mario 64, even though I suck dick at that game, is that there is very little shit like that, where there's just for no reason, even though by the game's own physics and, like, by how much space there is, you definitely could make that jump if you were allowed to, but just because they want the level set up a certain way, they don't let you. And while it definitely would have thrown me off, probably, I really like that Mario 64 just lets you do those things. It's just like, yeah, it's a completely different other part of the level, and, you know, if this gets you to the, you know, task at hand in a different way, that may not be how we intended, but you did it. And I like that in platformers when, you know, there may be a linearity to the setup of, like, what you're supposed to do in order to get the things, but if you just so happen to desire to try something in a different way, then you can, and it is fine and works. But it sucks when that just is not a possibility, when they're like, no, just play the fucking game. Just, you know, follow the instructions on the screen, press the buttons, get your Scooby snacks, get your dopamine hit, then go back to work. So yeah, I decided to give up after a little bit of looking around, a little bit of backtracking, and I do even more of it here. I kept thinking that this thing up there to the right, that you know, something of value is going to be up there. Evidently not, because I never end up getting back up there, and then because I think I fall off here, and didn't miss any clues or food or nothing, so I don't know. Boy oh boy. So while this is happening, because this part is kind of boring and repetitive, the section, this is a part of that I'm not so keen on, but I like the first part of it. Oh, there's Shaggy all the way in the distance. Hi, buddy. You know, I mean, this isn't terrible, but it's pretty linear, but there's also like a million different ways you can go for some reason. And there's a lot of stuff like this, which is like waiting for the gas, waiting for the elevators. Yeah, here we go. I'm waiting for the elevator. But I was gonna briefly talk about, I mentioned in the last one, the trailer for the third SpongeBob movie that is coming out in May of 2020, right around the same time as the Scooby-Doo movie that's coming out that I talked about. And I don't have like a take necessarily on the new SpongeBob movie. I can't like put together a coherent sort of theory as to why I don't like it just on first blush. But I'm not a gigantic fan of the art style. It's not that it looks bad or anything. I just don't see it as necessary. I'm pretty sure it's more expensive than it would be to just do it with 2D traditional animation, because the budget for the first SpongeBob movie is like $30 million. And let me see what the budget was for this one, which was going to be called the SpongeBob movie It's a Wonderful Sponge. And it was gonna be about like SpongeBob. It was gonna be It's a Wonderful Life. It was gonna be SpongeBob It's a Wonderful Life. Now it's called Sponge on the Run, and it's an even more like uninteresting plot than that, I think, because not only It's a Wonderful Life is like a thing that everyone has done a version of, but I could at least conceive of interesting directions to go in with that. But the plot of this one is just that Gary gets kidnapped, and, you know, I guess in a different sort of way than this one seems to suggest, but that's already happened, and there's already in the show, like in SpongeBob itself, and like there's already been at least one, but I think there's been multiple episodes where Gary is missing, and it's just not that, like, there isn't much, I don't want to say depth, but like I don't know. I don't see a reason to tell that. Like, what was the compelling reason for that to be the story that they told? I can't really see one. It kind of just seems like, we need something to happen. They travel to the lost city of Atlantic City. And it's about revealing the origin of SpongeBob meeting Gary for the first time as kids, according to the Wikipedia page. But, like, I don't like that. It's like the fucking Solo thing and the how did Scooby-Doo get his name? Like, I don't give a shit how SpongeBob met Gary. I mean, that might make a fun episode of the show, but a full movie... I don't know why everything has to be lore. Why can't it just tell a story? Why does it have to be about the origins of your favorite thing? Like, why don't you just give me a new good thing? So, I'm trying to look up the budget. It wasn't on the Wikipedia page for some reason. $74 million. More than twice the budget of the original film to make this weird CG animation thing. When, like, the show is in 2D, like, that is the form by, like, which most people know SpongeBob in. I just don't understand it. That plot and that aesthetic decision, here's my thesis now, I have one. That plot decision and that of doing, the origin thing, like every other reboot and like retread of an IP is doing right now in this age of conglomeration, and that aesthetic choice to do it in CG in like very, like to its credit, very bright and colorful CG animation rather than the 2D animation that most people recognize the film is doing and would be able to turn more of a profit because of its... Well, I would think, because you would be spending less money on it. But I guess, their focus group said kids only like CG movies now, so they have to do it that way and spend way more money to do it, which I don't understand. But whatever. That was the end of the level. I talked over all that shit, sorry. You don't get to into the really deep plot of Scooby-Doo Unmasked. But yeah, that's annoying. Those two choices just show me that they're doing what every other studio is doing, which is just rebooting these IPs by just, like, going with what people already know and recognize and riffing on that and doing stories about, like, the origins of your favorite character or whatever thing. They're also doing a tie-in to the Camp Coral spin-off series and starting a Squidward spin-off series now that Hillenburg is dead after he objected to doing any spin-off series to SpongeBob. So yeah, life is really, really great. Culture and media is just awesome now. And I will see you next time for more of the museum stuff.